Hello, everybody. Welcome to Impromptu. I am Tony Sawyer. This is my husband, Clifton, and my co host, Pastor Norman. We're in the North Carolina. He's in the South Carolina. And we come together every Thursday for a conversation. Three enlightened, awakened pastors on our way to total awakening. And we discuss how we have made changes and how we perceive things from the vantage point that we have now versus what we used to have. And so this is a very intense conversation every Thursday that we have. And we welcome you for those of you who come in. All right.
Okay.
You got to do your live stream tonight. So now what you plan to talk about?
I may continue to talk about the promises that the Bible talks about and how all of the promises that has been already spoken and declared over our lives, they will come to pass. There's some that are unconditional, and then there's some that are conditional, which means it requires your participation and so forth. And so I've been talking about them holding fast to their professions, the things that they believe, to their faith, their confidence, and so forth. Because whatever has been spoken over your life is coming to pass.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Linda Langdon. She's popped in here.
Okay,
Linda.
Linda.
She's our super fan, Linda. Yeah, so that sounds good. So when you
There's one more.
there's one more.
There are some things, but I say two more. One thing that come to pass without doing anything, like the miracle working growth in dirt and in the ground.
Okay.
And then there's another one, the biggest one is everything is already taking place inside of us. There's two extras you can add to that. And the ones in the inside is an insurance policy, a guarantor, what you call that guarantees that if you miss, there's no mistakes. If it does not show up, the package still is inside. If it come up with a crisis, it's still there. That's the side where you can't do anything and you're totally helpless, hopeless. And this is called the abiding grace. It's not greasy grace. It's the pure grace of God. Okay. It's not that kind of greasy grace where you cook an egg and you use bacon grease and chicken grease to fry it in. And this is what most believers and most people operate in. That means that each time events take place, or seemingly in the illusionary world, there's a backup plan to cover every. You say when you get a coverage for your car on a warranty, it's covers from bumper to bumper. Yeah, God is the bumper to bumper,
like blanket coverage.
Blanket coverage.
I mean, there's a scripture you made me think of it in 2 Timothy 2:13. It says, if we believe not, yet he abides faithful.
That's it.
He cannot deny himself.
And that's the part that I say that most people operate trying to use faith for everything, trying to use confession for everything.
So even when we don't
negative thinking and talking, that's covered. That phone call we just got is one of those who are stuck in having what you say and say what you have.
Trying to make it happen.
And what they're doing is trying to take God by his arm, handcuff him and tie him to a tree, whip his butt and bang him with all the scriptures, whip his butt, stick holes in his head like his thorns around his, still on his head, and try to stick holes in his feet when his, and that, if Jesus had to go by what we said, if that law is so prevalent, my God, we had what is Dr. Strange and some of the universes that he was in, all those buildings would be piled up on top of your house. You say, I confess I got a horse, and doggone a horse be standing in your house. Or that house right there is mine. Then people got to move out or stay in there while you confess it's yours. Oh, I want that man. I'm gonna confess, believe God, I got him. He's already married. And you're gonna confess him out of his marriage? Knock on the door. Lord told me this house mine. But what are we supposed to do? Give it to you? See,
And
I'm just saying it's not.
And you're talking about the pitfalls of
Yeah.
that method of,
Yeah.
of trying to speak things into
Now,
just believe things.
That's
into
part of
existence.
what I was going to talk about tonight. Those cases like that, they are called what I say? I wrote it in my
He
notes
can't
here.
read his shorthand.
Yeah, here it is. Here it is. They are what we call.
In the meantime, let me say hello
They
to
are-
Antoinette. Hello, Antoinette and Jeanette. I'm glad you guys are here.
They're called effective. What do you call that? I just said it this morning. I forgot what the word. They're after effects of
Or side effects.
side effects. That's what I meant to say. Side effects to spirituality and the walk of God. I'm gonna write that in here so I won't forget it.
Yeah, there's side effects to it. And
There are side effects to spirituality and the middle path, and we often use another side effect. Everything is a demon. That's a sickness,
yes.
and it's the ego
Mhm.
that's sick, that believes that everything has got to be a warfare. It's got to be bound and loose and cast out. And when Jesus, let me tell you, when Jesus was talking to Peter, and Peter came up with the idea, and it was true, that Jesus was the Son of God. And he said, flesh and blood have not revealed it to you. Then Peter began to rebuke Jesus and disagree with him. He didn't cast the spirit out of Peter. That was a sickness that Peter had. Do you know
That's the human sickness.
That's the human sickness.
Yes.
That sickness is everybody come in this world have that disease. Here's another one right quick. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. He believe in me, believe in God, believe also in me. Do you know there are certain people saying Jesus was just a prophet and just a man or just a married baby, and that was it.
And some people would say Jesus did not actually exist.
That's right.
Yes.
But
because there is no historical proof.
Now, here's the only proof I can tell you guys, anybody that die, go ahead and leave your body or have an real out-of-body experience and go over on the other side and see for yourself. I hope you send your gold and black butt over back, or purple butt back over here, because you ain't gonna be ready to stay over there. I'm being candid.
You're on your soapbox now.
Yeah, I'm on it now, because there is something wrong with this thing.
There's a human condition.
That's right, and it's a sickness. It's a sickness to not find out or move on past the ditches.
Well,
and the hitches.
And what we've discovered.
The hitches and the ditches.
And what we've discovered is, no matter what religious affiliation you have or non-religious affiliation, if you're moving in spirituality or you're moving in religion, it doesn't matter. What we've noticed is that the trickster, or I should call, we overuse the word ego, the trickster, the illusionist, tends to take on the language and the flavor of whatever the truth is, and then tries to walk it out and impose itself as an imposter of the true self. And so what happens is they become inflated.
Mm-hmm.
We, as a human race, become inflated when we have accumulated certain levels of information. We call ourselves enlightened when we've accumulated all that information. And now, because we can say it and speak it, we think that we are living it. Mm-hmm. And in actuality, it's a spiritualized ego.
Exactly.
I don't mean to cut you off, Pat, but let me say this right quick.
Let him say it.
You will. Do you know, Pastor, over the 35 years that we was in brick and mortar, from the beginning of 22 years of age, that we got up and believed that we can cast out every devil and demons and evil spirits, and that would solve the problem. Do you know we run across a few of them that said the entity inside, the energy, that self-exalted false ego, said Christians are foolish and ignorant. They know not what power they have over us. We've heard that said. If you're not hurting, it would do well for some of the ones that are waking up to enlightenment to understand that a lot of this stuff that we are having problem with in enlightenment has nothing to do with evil. It's just an ego. We say a ghost with a bad toothache. What it is. Okay, now I'm through.
Yeah, I'm going back to what I was talking about the promises. And a lot of people kind of misunderstand when we talk about the promises. We go into the area of making a vow or an oath, but that's not the revelation of promises. When we talk about promises, it's a declaration that is made of something that will happen or will not happen. And so pretty much when I've been sharing concerning from the series that I've been doing, he promised you. I had people start making certain declarations. He promised me and I agree. So now what I'm talking about is this. When God has declared things over our lives, we have to realize that those things have been declared over us before the foundation of the world. All right. So there are things that are predestined that is going to happen no matter what in our lives. And so going back to what Amos said, and as it was actually God speaking through Amos, how can two walk together except they agree? And so I'm trying to bring people to the place of understanding that you have to enter into agreement with God, or more importantly, awaken to the point of your oneness with God. And so when you pray, it is not you that's praying, it is the Spirit of God that is interceding, because he knows the mind of the Spirit. And he only intercedes according to what the will of God is for our lives. And so that's pretty much, I'm not talking about claim it,
shape it,
claim
frame it,
it and attain it or whatever.
Name it and claim it and all of that.
It's
Yeah.
not going to happen, because see, that's the trick right there, where so many people have gone on that journey of declaring and professing and confessing, and things are not happening according to what they are declaring out of their mouths. It is because there are things that you have to understand that has already been spoken over you before you even entered into your mother's womb. And so it's pretty much, again, if we think about 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 20, all the promises of God in him are yea. That's what it says. In him are yea, and in him, amen. So that takes us back again to the oneness of God. Once again, us being one, because in him we live, we move, we have our being. When you talk in terms of separation to try to get people to understand, but I was helping people to understand that there are things that you are speaking over your lives that's not happening. You're frustrated and aggravated because you don't know what has already been declared over your life before the foundation of the world. And so we need to get out of that routine of trying to manipulate God. No, those your desires. That's what you want to happen from your ego mind. But you need to just enter into agreement with what God has already said. Those things will not be reversed.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to say, you made me think of it. We had a visitor the other night, a good friend of ours, Oliver, who back before the pandemic, he decided he was going to launch his own business, leave what he was doing as an employee and take on his own business. And he's become very successful, and he's becoming more and more successful. He came by and visited us, and as he left, as he was getting ready to leave, he said, "I want you to see my new car." So we went out. He's got a beautiful BMW, and so I sat in it. He said, "Sit in it." And so I sat in it, and everything felt so good. So I remembered, I was brought back. My mind was brought back to when we used to get a car every 3 years, a new car every 3 years. The car we've got now, we've had it for a while because it's paid for. We don't want another car payment. But the memory of sitting in the luxury came back to me. It felt so good. And then I was reminded how sitting in the luxury gave my ego a sense of value. a sense, a higher worth. I was worth more. I was more prestigious. It had a juice to it. It had a juice. Now, I'm not telling anybody they shouldn't have that. It's wonderful to experience that. The experience of that is great. It's wonderful. It feels so much better than sitting in a car that's broke down. I have to admit. However, I realized that what I was getting, the juice I was getting from sitting in that seat was given to me by something that was only a temporal, impermanent thing that could change at any moment. The minute somebody hits it, that's gone. That feeling's gone. The minute the tire goes flat, that's gone. The minute the air conditioner stops working, that's gone. The feeling, the juice slips away. Whatever it gave me, it slips away as I'm brought back to the fact that this is an impermanent material thing that is giving me some kind of juice, some kind of feeling. So I'm beginning to understand that feeling that we get from things, whether it be a big house or the kind of house you want, whether it be the outfit you want, whether it be the jewelry that you like, whether it be the pay raise that you wanted, whether it be I'm working for this particular company and it's prestigious, whether it be I'm married to somebody who's very successful, I'm married to somebody who's very handsome or very beautiful. It's juice. Everything is giving you juice. But it's juice that can change at any moment. So all of these feelings that we seek these feelings. So a lot of times we take what you were talking about, what you were talking about, Dad, the naming and claiming it. Well, a lot of times we use that to try to get more juice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
We use that to get more juice and to find a sense of self-worth that we didn't have without those things.
It gives us a high.
Yes, it does. And so there's another person that we love very dearly who's been doing very good work with the city, has worked really hard and worked with some very high up officials in the city. And all of a sudden, they're not giving that person the recognition that they should get. So now that person is feeling like, okay, I need to be validated. I need to be noted. I need some notice. I need to be noted for what I've done. And it's true. But at the same time, trying to get that from someone without, trying to get the juice from something without is where that is the human condition. So I'm looking for it in all the wrong places. It's inside me, but I'm looking for it and expecting it to come from something without me. Does that make any sense?
It makes all the sense, because this is what I wanted to ask you based off of what you said earlier about the illusionist. And so let's ask, and I'll just use that car for an example, and or we could use another car. What makes a luxury car a luxury car?
Okay, go ahead.
What makes it luxury? Because when you do your research on certain vehicles, like I have, I'll use for example, and if I'm correct, okay, you have Toyota. What's so different from the Toyota and the Lexus? Because it's the same company that builds both cars.
Same company.
But
a lot of the same part.
They put a name on it and they put an image on it. Like when you hear BMW, immediately when someone hears BMW, oh, you got to be making money. So that's put you in a different status quo. But you don't understand, some of the parts of that vehicle is the same exact parts that is used to what you would consider a car that's just an economy car or whatever. It is what we project on. It gives something of value that through that we think, oh, when I get this, I've arrived. And we do it by putting monetary value on things.
I got the hint.
We think we're in a luxury vehicle. In all actuality, ain't no different than the vehicle that the other person got.
Exactly.
I got the answer.
And you know, I don't know how long ago this was, but it's centuries ago, they made the orchid and I think, and don't quote me on this, because this is a long, haven't thought about it in a while. In the UK, they made the orchid more valuable than gold. They made it more valuable than gold. Now, I have to admit, because we've had some luxury cars in our day.
I can tell you what make it luxury.
Well, and it is everything that Pastor Norman said, and probably what you said too.
Okay.
But I can say this, and I have experienced this and witnessed it, that when you sit in a luxury car, one that you have paid big money for, the motor sounds different. There's a difference in the way it sounds. And yeah. Go ahead and tell them what you're going to do.
It's very simple.
All right. Tell us what you said.
He asked you to sit down in that car, didn't he?
Yes.
He gave you the butt test.
Yes, he did.
And the butt test is what I tell them when they get ready to do service on my Jeep. I said, I got some equity in that seat. I got a lot of gas in it. I got a lot of residue in it. And when you set your, and when
I
you
ain't sit to that no more.
I told the guy, I said, vacuum out everything in this Jeep. Don't vacuum my seat, because I don't want you to vacuum out all the buildup of my butt sitting on that seat, because I got some wisdom and insight in that seat, and I don't want it sucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So the key to the luxury car: hearing, feeling, seeing, and your butt work.
It's the experience.
That butt sit on that seat, and let me tell you something else. Most of these cars, being in upholstery for years, and I reupholstered car seats, they call it leather.
But now they call it leatherette.
Leatherette. They'll tell you, and you know how I found out
it's not real leather.
You can, if you could get up under the seat and look at the back of it, you can see whether it's leather, because leather has a natural cowhide. I was over in the spirit world. I have to tell you that, because we got to move on, but I had the experience of going to Jesus Christ leather shop in London, England.
This is a long story, but go ahead.
But I'll leave it at that.
You gonna tell it?
Well, I went into this place. I saw myself walk up steps, and I can see it now, just as vivid as we talking. Spaciousness. I could see the place. I walked in the place, and the place smelled like cowhide leather. I mean, real leather. Pocketbooks. And I was interested in finding shoes, handmade shoes, because I used to wear them when I was in school. Handmade shoes during that time didn't cost me but $60 a pair. But I had 2 or 3 pair of them, long story short. As I got up in the building, I said, where's that smell coming from? And the lady that was there told me that it was genuine leather. I said, well, if you got genuine leather, somebody had to kill a cow or a bull or animal. You know what she said to me? Our leather does not come from the manufacturer of killing of an animal. I said, well, how do you get it? That's the secret to the master of the Lutherer who builds and make shoes.
Is it the Lutherer that makes
the Lutherer is the guitar player, but the shoemaker gets his leather supernatural. And I said, is he here? I'd like to meet him. He said, well, she said, the first thing that I noticed when I came with the smell, that came from him, the leather smell. But he said he would be here. Jesus showed up. And when he did, I was standing outside going to I said, I want to use your restroom during that time. That's back to human. And I started out there. And as I went by, there was a dog tied on a chain. I looked at the dog, and the dog communicated with me, said, who are you? And why are you out here? I said, I'm going to the restroom. The dog said to me, here's what the dog said. Now that dog talked now, this is what he said. The dog said, the owner of this leather shop saved my life. If it had not been for him, I would not be here. And I didn't like the idea of the dog being on a chain, but I noticed the chain was there on the dog for me to see and not for the dog. Mm-hmm. So I saw the dog. When I come back in, everything, and look, and then you said something to me during that time that they had already started the research.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Okay, you tell about the research.
You told me about your experience, and I went and I saw on TED Talks, they have already discovered how to make leather without killing an animal.
Wow. Wow.
They can do it
Yeah.
in a petri dish from the cells of an animal. So there is now the capability of making leather without killing an animal.
When I put leather on my sewing machine, making pants.
But now, why are we talking about the leather?
We're talking about this because what did he say? The last thing he said.
I can't remember.
Well, anyway, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. My point is that
I'm talking about the perception that we put on things.
We were talking about
the illusion.
What makes the car luxury.
Yeah, we're talking about the illusion. Now, in the illusion, Jesus wiped the illusion out because he created the illusion for us to be able to experience both sides of the middle path, so that we can be more effective in focusing ourselves on our true identity.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm waiting.
Okay, I'll wait on you too.
Look at this.
Why does God want to become human?
They run out of shoes on the other side. Okay, go ahead.
Seriously, why did God want to become human?
In my journey of enlightenment, I've asked that question several times before. Still ain't got an answer. But from my religious conditioning, of course, we are taught that he became man for the salvation of mankind. So
but there was no man until he became man.
Exactly. And so that's a question I have no answer for. And
I know it's a big question.
And that's what God wants to get people to understand. Stop trying to force an answer to a question that you may have been having or been at, because sometimes there is no literal answer.
Right. But I think inside the question there's an acknowledgement that God did become human. So that means that every last one of us, as an expression of God, our whole life, not just the part where we think we accepted Christ, not just the part where we think we awakened, had enlightenment experience, but our whole entire life was God. God ordained, God fashioned, the essence of God, our entire life, even the parts that we think were separated from that. And so it causes you to look at your life and what you've experienced, because in actuality, it was God as the human experiencing it all. So now we're talking about the human condition. The human condition is the one, and I'm beginning to kind of get a glimpse. The condition is born out of the God creative ability that we know it's here inside of us, but we don't know how to use it. And we don't know how to access it. And we don't know how to govern it. We don't know how to manage it. Some of us don't even know we got it.
What do you call when you take honeydew and a cantaloupe and put them side by side overnight and let them sit there?
Well, it has to be longer than overnight, but because we did it.
Okay.
It took about a week.
Okay.
It was a honeydew and a cantaloupe, and we put them side by side. We didn't do it deliberately. It was just, that's when we had them on the counter. And when we cut that honeydew in, it was turning orange on the inside.
God didn't have to be deliberate.
And they weren't touching.
That's right. Everything that God creates, he don't create that's effortless creation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We came out of the grace. I didn't want to use that because I got to check on that. We are, I want to say chip off the old block. Osmosis.
That's what I was going to say.
We are the osmosis of God. it was impossible for us not to be. And this osmosis process made us everything that God is and everything that He ain't.
Yeah.
You brought to mind something.
Can I say glory? Hallelujah.
Yeah, you can say if that cantaloupe and that honeydew
Ah, my God. Thank you.
transferred whatever they were into one another without touching, that means God doesn't have to touch us for anything to happen. And then not only that, to go beyond that, oneness has nothing to do with touching or joining of objects. Oneness is they were both the same family when they're sitting there not touching.
And you said the word. One is dealing
Oneness.
with the word is.
Yes.
It is. Because, for example, when you propose that question, I can even do a better question, and many may not say this, but we say God is all knowing, right?
Yeah, we say that.
We say He's omniscient, He's all knowing. Okay, so now when it comes to the narrative of the book of Genesis, okay, if God knew that Eve was going to eat of that fruit, why would He put the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden? If He knew,
why would He put that there?
why would He do that? And then knowing that because of that, evil would come into the world, man would die, all these different things, and so forth. So if He's all knowing, all right, if He's omniscient, I can even talk about why He brought the children of Israel into the wilderness. And He said that He brought them in there because He was testing to see what was in their heart. Well, you're supposed to already know what's in their heart.
Know.
So that's what I'm saying. There are certain questions that we put out there. So if it is true that God is all knowing, nothing that occurs, whether you consider it good or bad, ever surprises Him because He already foreknew.
Already knows.
So we always use Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Always talk about all things work together for the good for those that love the Lord and called according to His purpose. But the very next verse talks about predestination.
Yes.
He already foreknew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's questions that we have about certain things. And if that is true, then again, everything that's happening has already been ordained to happen.
Well, and even let's go beyond the ordained to happen. In outside of time, it already has happened.
Exactly.
Remember the lamb that was slain before the foundation of the world?
Exactly. So He knew. He knew. So going back to your question, if dealing with that, okay, if He knew that all this was going to happen, and then you just mentioned the scripture that is so true, that Jesus was the lamb that was slain before found it, which in God it already occurred.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So all these things, can we really say that there is good and evil?
No,
or is it just the plan of God?
We can't say there's good or evil. I always use this example. And I don't know why we're going back to luxury cars, but let's just say a man drove a car off the lot. He's a brand new Mercedes, top of the line Mercedes. He just drove it off the lot. Here comes another man. He's going down the same highway. He's got this old car that is about on its last leg. He doesn't know if it's going to make it for another year. And he's driving down the interstate, but he has some insurance that will give him enough money to get another car if he wrecked it. All right, he's driving down the interstate. The guy in the Mercedes driving down the interstate. All of a sudden, there's a 7 car pileup. The Mercedes is total lost. The hoopty is total lost. The guy in the Mercedes jumps out and said, "The devil is a lie. He took what God blessed me with." The man in the hoopty jumps out and said, "Glory to God, I'm gonna get a new car." Is the wreck good or bad? Is it evil or what is it?
It's neutral.
It's neither.
Okay. Here's another one. we went to a church service in Myrtle, Miami Beach. Miami Beach. And while we were down there, we went out to eat. Is that right?
I'm not sure what story you're telling.
Okay, here
So
it is.
yeah,
We saw a Volkswagen sitting next to a Maybach. Was it a Maybach Rose?
yeah,
It was a Rose.
not a Maybach.
It
It
wasn't?
was
But it was a Rose.
but it was a Rose.
It was a
Yes,
Rose.
yes.
I called it a Maybach. It was
The
the
Maybach is a Mercedes, but the
Mercedes. Okay,
it was a Rose.
it was a Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
It had pretty top. It was, but I looked at both of them
they were both making a statement.
making a statement.
Mhm.
The energy around that Volkswagen could not match up to that Rolls Royce.
That's true.
It made a statement.
That's true.
The Christ you are in you and you in him. You are God's eternal salvation, and he is our eternal salvation self. That is every man in the universe. When you get to the place where you are fully implemented on seeing Christ as the sum total of all things, you'll never, ever again have to look for God, pray to God, or seek God, or walk with God and ask him to walk with you. Because if I was to ask you now, where is God? What would you say?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear the answer from you guys out there. If I was to say to you, show me God, I'll tell you what it is. Here it is. Have I been so long with you, and you have yet, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that have seen me have seen the Father. You know why we won't say he that looks at us and talk to us, and we that talk to the other person? You know why we won't say it's God there? The sickness, the critical disease of the side effects of being in this dimension blinded the eyes. When your eyes come open, you'll see Jesus Christ, or if not, if you're Buddhist or whatever it is, you will see the pure self. Mm-hmm. Let's forget about the James King version. Let's go to just God. Okay? There is a place where you won't have to ever use the word or the statement God with, God come, holy God, God, because you are the sum total. And I'm talking about drastically ignoring, okay, here comes Norman Armstrong. Mm-hmm. You've had many names. They called you David. They called you Goliath. They called you Samson. They called you everything that every name was around the foot of the cross. And the ones that didn't have a cross in the Old Testament, you were inside of every one of those bodies as the eternal self. And when you get to the other side, or if there's an other side, don't make no difference anymore, because you done found what satisfied the claim. What satisfied the claim? Oh, I hear people saying, Pastor saying, you know, when you get saved, you're going to be happy. That's the biggest bunch of D-O I ever heard. When I get saved, I'm going to be really where God wants me to be. Well, if you are, why you keep seeking after him? Mm-hmm. If you got everything and you know it, why you keep going after him? Why you keep praying? Lord, I come to you the most only way I know how you get there. Ain't nobody got there yet, because it's not wrapped up in that way of seeing.
And that's why in the series that I've been doing about promises, I wanted people to understand we project that on people, like what Dad just said. If you get saved, you're going to be happy and everything's going to be glorious. No, be honest with you, for some of us, it got worse. And so forth.
That's the side effects of
it. And that's what I'm saying. And so that is the lie that we are projecting, we're saying to people over and over again that it's going to be okay. Pray, going back again. Death and life is in the power of your tongue. So we're projecting declare your healing or declare your
There you
blessing.
go. There you
And
go.
then it doesn't happen for the person that it doesn't happen for. What do we really say to them? You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so that's what I want people to understand. And so if we look at the whole picture, the whole puzzle, because this is what if we go down that journey concerning, if God knew everything and and all these things are going to happen no matter what, no matter what you try to do, no matter how you manipulate, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you fasting, how much you confessing and so forth, then what is the real purpose behind what we're doing in church? What is
That's a
the
big one.
real purpose of us
That's a big one.
if there is things that's going to happen no matter what are we really projecting to the people when we come together?
A lie.
What I think what we have projected in the past, thank God we're learning better. Maya Angelou said we'll do better when we learn better, when we know better. But I think what we did in the past, and a lot of pastors, and not only pastors, but spiritual teachers, even some sages or whatever, are trying to give people we're giving them the false hope.
That's what I just said.
False hope.
False hope.
A promise of peace, a promise of bliss, a promise of fulfillment, a promise of contentment, or whatever. We're giving them a false hope when in actuality, and I said this to a young man, it's been some time back, he was asking about, he needed the direction, and I think I mentioned it before. He needed direction from God as to where to move his congregation. He was a pastor. And so he said he's been praying and asking God to show him what to do, where to go, all of this. And he hasn't been getting anything from God in that sense. But what he has been getting is he's been having out of body experiences and having all of these mystical experiences. And he said, why is God doing that? But he won't tell me anything about the direction that I need to take. I said, because God is not concerned with all of the material things that you're having to deal with. His priority is your evolution. God's priority is our evolution. God's priority is not us getting things and getting stuff. And God's priority is not even about fixing our relationships. God's priority is not that. Although God, in his mercy and his love for us, does help us in those ways. But that is not priority. Priority to God is evolve to a place of higher seeing.
Exactly.
And this is what he meant when he said, seek ye first the kingdom, and everything else will be added. He said we got everything else in front of that. And that's not how it's supposed to work. But then in putting that and making that priority, making your spiritual evolution priority, you have to do that. Some people call it in the Christian church making Jesus Lord of their life. Well, Jesus was Lord before you made him Lord. So
exactly.
He already has. We surrender, but we say we give you this. It was already his. It's nothing we can give, but we say that. But God's priority is our spiritual evolution, our seeing from a different vantage point. And once that happens, then everything else kind of falls in place. But we don't trust that. We don't trust it. And so the human condition is, I'm going to fix this myself. I'm going to find a way to manifest this on my own. I'm going to find out how I can do this and create this on my own, because God is too slow. And so here we go. That's the human condition.
Are you saying the fall of Lucifer was the fault of us?
Yes, because Lucifer, in that passage where it talked about the fall of Lucifer, he made a comment, I will exalt myself above the stars. Ego. I will be like the Most High.
That's it. That's the fault.
That's the human condition. I'm going to be like God.
Already that.
There's no way I'm going to be like God.
So I'm gonna throw another question. I'm gonna throw another boomerang out there. I'm gonna throw that again. All right. And that's another thing. If God is all knowing, and I want everybody to hear that, if God is all knowing, why would he create a being, Lucifer, knowing that he was going to try to exalt himself over him?
Yeah.
See that's what I want everybody to understand. Again, there are. First of all, there's nothing wrong with asking those type of questions because
Right,
again,
right.
that's part of the journey of awakening and being enlightened. If God is all knowing and he created Lucifer, an archangel, he knew that Lucifer was going to exalt himself, try to exalt himself
Yes.
above him. So if I
Yeah.
know that, why would I create something that's going to oppose me?
You're better off.
I can't see you. That's why. He's talking about the lighting. But yeah, I hear you. But then let's do this. Let's go let's take it even deeper. Why would he? And then, is the story true?
See, but I can ask
the narrative. Is the narrative even true?
But let me put out two questions because see, some people will get upset with me because this is the journey that I be on all the time. Because I'll study that Bible back and forth. If God is all knowing, again, like some people that will profess that's not Christians, why would God let a child go through what he went through? Why would God and let me make it more today? Why would God allow or let what happened at Lakewood on this past Sunday?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So my question, I'm gonna say it again. I hope somebody catch it. I'm just gonna say it. And I ain't trying to be a heretic or whatever, but these are the things that I rationalize in my mind. I'm not trying to
that's what happens when you start waking up.
If he is all knowing.
You're all side effects of waking up.
These are the side effects of waking up. Yes.
Exactly. If God is all knowing, and we're not saying that he is or ain't, all right. But if he's all knowing, then what we read in our Bible, is it accurate?
Is it? Yes. And see, not being afraid.
Manipulation in the scriptures.
Yeah, and not being afraid to ask that question.
Exactly.
I don't think God in its actuality, whatever God really is even threatened by that question.
Nope.
And it's all designed to push us into an actual knowing, a real knowing of what God is and knowing God, actually knowing God.
Is it the dollar bill that on one side of it, in God we trust, or is it on both sides?
It's on one side.
Wonder why they're on both sides.
Wonder why it's not on both sides?
But now I'm gonna blow your mind. I just found this out, and I can't remember the year. But in God we trust has not always been on the dollar bill. I just did research the other day. There's people that found old money. And I want to say I'm trying to remember if it was in the 1940s. I can't remember, but it did not have it did have "In God We Trust" on the dollar bill.
I don't know what to say about that, y'all.
My point is that on a piece of a coin, it's got different sides on it. There's two sides to the story.
Yeah.
And God created the side of the story. Let me put it like this. This is what I saw. This is what I see. How can I wear Jesus' clothes and his robe if I am not the same size that he is? Then I look around and here I am standing in front of him, which is in front of my true self. He may appear to me as Buddha, Muhammad, I don't care what it is. But he appeared to me and I'm standing there and all of a sudden I see him put his robe on me and yet he was not naked, clothesless. And I asked him just within telepathic communication, how can I looked at my sleeve and I looked at his and it was the same material, the same leather. The same material. That's my point. And I said, how can I? And he is 5'11", 6 feet tall or more.
And you 2 feet.
And I'm, Miss Linda, come over here and slap this girl. Marvita, come and get her. She done lost it. She got a sickness messing with me at the point I'm very intense and she's messing with me. This is a grown folks conversation. You just sit still.
You must be treated right yesterday for Valentine's.
Oh, she's crazy today. I done messed her up.
He gave me my flowers, but he gave them to me before Valentine's, so it counts.
I gave her some cake. But anyway. So here I am standing. I said, Lord, how can I at 5'6", thank you, at 5'6", wear your robe and you taller than I am? He instantly showed me one size fit all.
Mm-hmm.
There's a factory in the lower dimensions that are making robes for the bride of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you inching up on the thing?
Look,
he's getting closer and closer. You
sorry.
all right?
I'm
okay?
intense.
I see you are.
He's engaged.
Look, we got some good comments. I've been passing them by to let us talk.
I'm involved in this thing, y'all.
I know you are. You're very passionate about it.
You don't understand, sugar.
I do understand.
57 years and you don't understand.
Who's 57?
I'm 50. We've been married 55 years.
Not quite.
Well, or 54. I don't care what it is. It's 50.
Yeah, you just said 3 different numbers.
Don't worry about that. You just too much. That's what we fall out about all the time. Her details.
Listen, I've got to deal with these comments. Oh my God. Are we gonna get anything said today?
No.
All right, let me see what Marvita's saying. This is way back. She said this way back when we were talking. She said, I believe our experiences that we label as challenges or struggles is actually a part of guiding us into the fullness of the Most High God. It leads us to find God within the self. Yes. Yep. Same as the story of Judas, all a part of the storyline. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to say. The storyline. Exactly. Is it possible that there's a parallel universe to this one?
Yep. It is.
Oh, don't get me in trouble.
It is.
Hey, Dad gonna understand this one. I believe the megaverse is a reality.
I do too.
It is.
I do too. So it's like it's like the 2 people on the freeway that had the accident. They were in 2 different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
In the same location, 2 different worlds. Same location, 2 different dimensions. And that's why in one dimension you could say it was God, it blessed, and in another dimension it was a devil. Both was true, depending on what dimension they were in. I think we're on to something here. Let's see what Linda's saying. She said, maybe we come here for expansion, certainly not salvation. We don't need salvation. Perhaps our nature is expansion. I don't know. And Jimmy crack corn.
You sound like you've been to Miami Beach.
Oh, she quoted you. She said Miami Beach.
I remember Miami Beach. Miami.
Lord have mercy. That was good. Marvita also said, we seek God and find God within the self, and we automatically live a life of abundance. The oneness within holds all we need. And that life of abundance may not include a luxury car.
And that's it. Again, is what we project what success is and what
abundance is.
Abundance is. And so, because I mean, even when we use the scripture from St. John 10:10, he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. Mm-hmm. Some people will begin to think that deals with having the BMW or having a large house and all that. But I really don't believe, I mean, we got to think about it. When he said that, they had no BMW. They
didn't have them. That's it.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So we have to realize
he might have had a pimped out donkey. That's about it.
When you say my pimped out donkey. Now that's
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love a luxury car. I do. I love a luxury car.
you made me think about Donkey on Shrek. Just
Pimped out donkeys and picked out
donkey.
chariots. if Dad lived in that time, he would have had big wheels on his chariot.
Well, I did. And I had some big ones.
He would have had the biggest
They
wheels.
were the biggest wheel on
His
that
wheels would have
buggy.
been bigger than the
My
chariot.
buckboard. I had a buckboard. I rode in the buckboard. I remember Wild Bill Hickok.
Everything Dad gets that has a roller on it, he changes the wheels and makes them bigger.
Yeah, and I seen that. Now, you said
Don't
something,
mess with me.
and I would throw this question out there:
Okay.
Can spirit be created?
No. And here's another question: can anything be created out of anything other than spirit?
So, if spirit cannot be created, Scripture said we are the offspring. God is the father of all spirits. That doesn't mean he created.
Mm-mm. Exactly.
So spirit always exists.
Okay, okay, wait a minute. So if we go back to the narrative, the Genesis narrative, he made us in his image. Did he make us? In one dimension, maybe he did, but in the other dimension, we were the ones that were involved in the creation process. Maybe we are the us.
So, and that's what I was getting ready to say, because we talked about that at the end of Impromptu last week. Because again, I still wrestle with that thing, because again, I don't believe that it's a tree. I don't believe it's a physical tree. But the thing is, when they ate of the tree, and now they knew the difference between, according to the narrative, good and evil, that's when God made a statement, they now become like us.
Yeah.
Knowing good and evil.
Wow.
That's the thing that's getting me. So what was I before I became like you? So when I did not eat of the tree, or they did not eat of the tree, they didn't know good and evil. So was I really like you? Why are you saying that they now become like us after they ate of the tree?
Right. That doesn't ring true, does it? And remember, he said to Jeremiah, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. So you were there. You were somewhere, existed somewhere before you ever came into the womb. So where were Adam and Eve before they ever got there? So anyway, we could ask those questions all day long, but they're good. They're good questions. Linda says this. She says, there really is not a here we come to. All happens in consciousness. I'm not sure things can be predestined. That implies that time, which doesn't really exist except in the mind.
So if I like that statement she made. So if there's no such thing as being predestined, because like it does give time, then that means this stuff this already happened before.
Exactly.
So we're just going through a constant cycle of the same old thing over and over and over and over again.
The story, as Marvita said, it's the storyline. And as Marvita said, it's the storyline. And then Linda says this: perfection cannot create imperfections. Exactly. And so if we see ourselves as imperfect, God couldn't have created that.
Well, Jesus cleared that up. He said, be perfect, for I am perfect. Which he's telling us, there's no imperfection in me. So why are you embracing, or you're formulating in your mind that you're imperfect?
Marvita mentions this when we were talking about the parallels. She said you can live in the same apartment complex for years and never see your neighbors. Some people you can run into now, no matter what time you're out, in different realities. Yeah. And same thing with children in the house. One child grows up and as an adult and says he was abused, and he didn't like the family. Family treated him bad. The other child in the same house went through the same experiences, would come out with a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's as simple as this, and I've mentioned this before. My mom had 2 girls and 2 boys. To my sister and myself, we would say, I have 2 brothers. My brothers would not say, I have 2 brothers. They would say, I have 2 sisters. So the perception of what was perceived, what was experienced, was totally different. They experienced 2 sisters. We experienced 2 brothers.
Exactly.
So that means there is one earth, but there are many, many, many worlds. And those worlds could be right here in this same room. 2 people sitting beside one another can be in 2 different worlds. And what can be true in one person's world would not be true in the other person's world. And there would be 2 different stories.
So let me ask you this question. So has he given us the ability or the will to create our own different worlds?
I think we already do. I think our world was created by our beliefs, and whatever world I'm living in, it is based on my beliefs, and it is my own individual world.
I want to read something.
Okay.
Because when you said that, I quickly put it in. This was proposed by a physicist by the name of Hugh Everett in 1957. The many worlds interpretation predicts the presence of branching timelines or alternate realities in which our decisions play out differently, sometimes producing wildly different outcomes.
Yes. Yes.
Woo, that's deep, Mom.
It's so simple that it's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That we are all living in our own individual worlds, and we've made them. We've made them. And
so if we go to the sacred contract, we created. Oh God, I just felt that. We created all these different events and then decided to put ourselves into it.
There you go.
So now who's
let's say
the finisher?
Oh, let's say it like this. Look at it another way too. You're right. But let's look at it this way. It all happened inside of us, in our own conscious awareness, as Linda said before.
That's right.
If nothing is outside of us, there's nothing out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing
I like
out
what Marvita said.
Yeah.
Said right here.
Linda also said we are the maker and the made. And Marvita says heaven on earth, hell on earth can be experienced in the same home. In the same location.
I'm going to tell the boss man to give Marvita a raise.
That's a good one.
Right.
That's it.
That's the end. That cake is baked.
And some people are in this world and think it's beautiful. That in their world is beautiful.
So
in other people's world, it's chaos and it's hell.
So now you just helped me hit on something. Of course, I know many of you have seen all of this. I'm gonna say, for the sake of understand, foolishness on YouTube, and it said right here, these decisions, wildly different outcomes, where all these different people out of nowhere, R&B singers, all kind of stuff, wanting to start churches. So they to me, they don't even have the revelation or the insight of what Jesus meant when he said, upon this rock I will build my church. All right. They do not have the concept. They see churches as another way of business. That's all
Yeah.
it is. It's not about awakening people. It's not about what we perceive it to be about. I mean, everybody and their mama is going, especially in Atlanta. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because they don't get it. They really don't get it.
Yeah.
And so when you pretty much, if that's the case, then and all is off the table. You can do whatever you want to do. You can say what you want to say. You can act the way you want to act. Why start a church? What would be the purpose of starting a church?
What would be the purpose of starting one?
If everything, if you no guidelines, no nothing, you could do whatever you want to do. Why start a church?
Exactly. And
that's what they're not thinking.
And can people come to a place of asking these risky questions without feeling like they're going to go across the line, across their red line, and God's going to get angry with them?
What's so crazy about it, they'll open one right next door to one.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And they use the excuse, and I'm getting tired of hearing this because that's a scapegoat for me. Because if you're gonna preach the Bible, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So if I understand that concept, they always want to use this excuse of church hurt. What you ain't just been hurt in church, you've been hurt in life, you've been hurt in school, you've been hurt at home, you've been hurt church hurt.
Here.
Wherever there are people, you're liable to be hurt.
Exactly. So here it is. You talk about a building or a group of people where you seeking refuge. Well, I thought my home would have been a refuge, but you might have been hurt there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These people really don't think, and that's why I know so many people are being led by their emotions.
They are.
They're not thinking things through.
Yes.
And so I had to say that at one of the services. Stop using that excuse of church hurt.
Yes.
We all been hurt, and don't act like you ain't never hurt nobody and hurt somebody in church yourself.
You made me think of something. Now I know what the side effects are. It's not side effects of enlightenment. It's not the side effects of salvation. It's not the side effect of having faith in God or having a particular religion. It's a side effect of separation.
Exactly.
And that is the human condition. Mm-hmm. We all have side effects from separation.
And it's funny that you said it because I just read, and I was going to throw that out there, going back to Romans chapter 8, verse 28, 29. But then the following verses after that start asking the question, what shall separate us
from the love of God?
Then he said nothing.
Nothing shall be able to separate. Exactly.
No thing.
Exactly.
And he listed things that could potentially do it.
Calamity, principalities, nothing shall be able to separate us.
Yes, yes. So we are one in the love of God. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, egotistically, we have the human condition of separation, and that's it. So like you said, we're liable to be hurt. Anywhere there's people, we're liable to be hurt. Mm-hmm. There's no way of escaping that.
Exactly.
So what's my immunity against being hurt by people? Is there an immunity for that? Or do I just accept that this is the way of separation, and I have to know that that is not the truth of who we are? And do I have the ability? Let's just ask this question: do I have the ability to choose which world I want to live in?
Oh, that's good, Ma. That's good.
Yes, you do.
That's good. Mm-hmm. And I was really contemplating on that thing concerning hurt, because I think that's a process of evolvement as well. Because things that hurt me before don't hurt me now.
So you have built an immunity against it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about when you said that. Mm-hmm. 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 Wow. So that's part. So again, that lets me know that whatever hurt me actually was beneficial. Because if
Sure.
it don't hurt me now, it helped me to evolve.
Yes.
Oh, I feel like preaching right now. Did y'all do this to me?
And how is an immune system built? It's not by removing you from everything that could possibly hurt you. It's by putting in your introducing everything that could hurt you to you and letting you build up what do I want to call it? Antibodies against it.
Is that that's what they did with COVID?
They give you part of it.
They give you part
so
of it.
Your immune system can learn this is what that is, and I don't want that.
If I was bit by a rattlesnake, they would give me the rattlesnake venom.
And that's all the immune system does. It's learned to recognize what it doesn't want, and it says, I don't want that, and it goes against it, fights it off.
Ooh, don't y'all making me pop right now, and I promise y'all.
So we really need our spiritual immune systems built up.
Exactly.
I think on that note, we're going to end. I think that's good stuff, right?
This is a bad place to end. We got to start back up right here because all kind of stuff is coming to me right now.
I know, but then we've been 10 minutes over time and we got to stop. And I got a doctor's appointment at 2 something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But anyway, I love these conversations with Pastor Norman. Don't you, baby?
Yes, ma'am.
I love these conversations. I know we get way out there sometimes, but that's how we think right now. That's how enlightenment and awakened pastors begin to think. And we definitely don't have all the answers, but we definitely are not stuck in a lot of the limited beliefs that we used to have. Marvita is mentioning the conversation that she and Pastor and myself are going to be having on the 28th. It's a Zoom that she's going to be doing. And it's going to be about sacred soul contracts. So she's introducing.
I'm gonna miss it.
How are you going to miss it?
Because I have something to do on the 28th.
What time?
It's Wednesday. It's 28th.
7:30.
It's 7:30.
I need my broadcast. I have something else I have to do with a couple on the 28th.
Well, it would be good next time to get you in on one of them. Maybe she'll do that. She has her own. She has her own thing. She's invited us to do that with her. We didn't set that up. But thank you, Marvita, for mentioning it. And for those of you, she said a link will be coming. If you guys are interested in being a part of that and want a link, and I don't have your email, I'm going to put our email on here so that you can send it to me, and that way you'll get a link, okay? Just in case you guys want to participate, I'm going to put that there so you can see it. That's our link. That's our email. So when she sends out a link for that, I can also send you a link for that. Okay? Linda Langdon said, I had this insight. We are like a radio. The signal we put out is the signal we attract to us. That's how we create our ongoing experience. It's important to lean towards keeping your signal positive. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Choose the world you want to be in. Choose the world you want to live in. Create the world you want to live in. Oh, man.
Okay, it's been good.
Marvita said Pastor going to reach out to her in inbox on Messenger.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, darling. We love you. We'll see you guys on next Thursday.
Thank you for coming.
If nothing changes, we'll be back at 12:30 next Thursday for another brilliant impromptu.
Continue to be enlightened.
Yes.
See you guys later.
Love you all.